And joining us now here on In the Circle, we got two great guests, two that have been on the show before, and they joined forces here to be on with us at the same time. I speak of Indiana head coach Shonda Stanton and associate head coach Shanda Bell, Hall of Famer, by the way, Kentucky Athletics Hall of Famer. Just got to throw that in there. Ladies, how you doing?
Doing great. Yeah,
Let's.
we're wonderful.
I want to first start with you, Coach Stanton. About I know you're celebrating the 50 years, recently, the 50 years the alumni and everything. Just talk a little bit about the history of Indiana softball because I don't think a lot of people are aware of it.
Yeah, I tell you what, an incredible event. And Gabby Jenkins, who played for us here at Indiana and is now on staff with us, talk about pouring her heart and soul into it, a labor of love. We had about 70 women here all the way back from 1968 that played here. Can you imagine that from 1968 all the way to the present? Which was super cool. So when you can just interweave the fabric of the story, the history of your program from the past to the current, it makes for what can be a really incredibly bright future. And so the weekend was an awesome celebration. We had former coaches here, Ann Lavier and Gail Blevins, that were great, and Ann was the first volleyball coach here too. So you're talking, way back when, and then we know what Gail has done in the history of our sport. Hutch came back. I don't know if you knew her roots started here in Bloomington. She was a graduate assistant under Gail. And so to have the winningest coach in the history of our sport back in town was really unique and a great time. And so we just had an opportunity to be able to celebrate the women of whose shoulders that we're standing on. And I tell you, it was incredible. The weather was great. Some people got out and golfed. We had a dinner that was absolutely fabulous that we were able to hear from the different people in the program, hung out at a local joint in town, which was super cool. The weekend just was incredible. We had a mixer with our team, a social with our team. I couldn't have scripted it any better. Gabby did an incredible job. So I'm thankful that she's on staff and so many hands went into that. And so it was incredible.
No, I'm glad you explained it because I don't think a lot of people were aware of Coach Hutch and her roots with Indiana and Coach Blevins and Coach Bell. I'm wondering what was it like for you to kind of be around all that?
It was awesome. I think the cool thing about being in Indiana and where we get to travel is we've actually met these women on the road, a lot of different places. We met Diane Stevenson. She's on the road when we're in Florida, a couple different places, Iowa. So we've got to meet these women over the last couple of years and just see the tradition of winning. And then the women that came back and then we got to be around, like Michelle Venturella, an Olympian that it has been a huge part of this program and she continues, like her legacy lives on. It's just really great to be around those women to see the winners. And so I think what the best part about it is that our student athletes got to be around them and they really got to spend time with them, like Coach mentioned, at our mixers. And we had some of our athletes text us thanking us for letting them be around them over that weekend. And so it was a really great experience.
Yeah, and Eric, just jump back in. This is super cool here. So, we had about 13 All-Americans that were back. But then what was really neat, here we sit with Juvia Davis that just graduated recently, right, last year. And she's having an opportunity to socialize with Gina Hugo, who probably played, in the 90s?
Yeah.
And they're talking about what Gina does right now. And Juvia wants to go into PT. And so she's setting up an opportunity to shadow Gina. So they leave here, they pick up that phone call. And so I'm just excited. This whole business is about relationships and the power of who and connection. I tell you, connection was on point that weekend. So we were pretty fired up about it. We did miss Diane. She was tied up with the hurricane and she is such a rich part of our history. So we thank her for, getting this thing up and running and moving forward. And we really did miss her, but we'll see her when we're down in Clearwater this spring.
Trust me, I know about hurricanes. We're dealing with that as we talk. But that's a big reason why you came to Indiana. I remember when you got hired, you said that was the tradition really sold you and a big reason why you came, Coach.
Yeah, I mean, look at, people don't realize it. It's been some time, right? But you're talking rich history. 4 Women's College World Series appearances. You're talking 4 Big Ten titles, Olympians, All-Americans. And so that's what we want to restore it to, that greatness, and we want to elevate it. And I really believe this event, it wasn't just one great weekend. How can that be a catalyst now that we turn one great weekend into something super special where we're partnering with these women, whether it's job shadowing, whether it's funding with, NIL and everything that's going on in the world, to them just being our biggest fans, right? Because it's their program and, we're here to shepherd it right now. And we're super proud, to be the coaches and doing that. But ultimately it's their program, and we're thankful for all the women that came back, and, we look forward to just continue to build on those relationships.
You mentioned Hutch. Obviously, I have to ask both of you about what was your reaction to her retiring abruptly, kind of out of nowhere in August, just announcing it. Obviously, you both have faced her as coach, and I know you, Coach Bell, you faced her as a player as well. So I'm just curious, what was both your reactions when Coach Hutch made that announcement?
Well, gosh, I mean, I think when the news came out, everybody was, pretty shocked to see. And, gosh, how thankful are we to have somebody like her in our sport, excuse me, that is such a champion for, just all women's athletics. And just, I can't wait to see what her next chapter holds. Because look what she has done, at Michigan. Look what she's done just in the entire landscape of our sport. And she's a winner. And when you're a winner, you win in all areas. And so now how cool is it going to be for her, to just create the next chapter, the next story. And I can't wait to watch it. We were super thankful to have her here. Anytime you have an opportunity to interact with greatness like that, you walk away, with a little bit different pep in your step, and you're pretty excited about the stories that you hear. And I'm thankful to be standing on her shoulders. It was an awesome experience to be able to compete against her in the other dugout, here at Indiana. And I think one of the things that you could always learn from somebody like Hutch is be you. I know I'm going to coach with my style. It was awesome to watch how she coached and learn from her. And that's what this business is about, is anybody you rub elbows with, you learn from them, and you hope you can take a little piece of greatness from them.
And you, Coach Bell, obviously you have unique because you obviously have coached against her and her staff, and Bonnie Toll, who takes over, obviously she's using it. So, but you've also played against her.
Yeah, they've had a great program for a long time. And so it's really cool to see, what we can do in this conference too. And I think that's the great thing about Indiana, is Michigan has been good for a long time. And we want to get to that level too, to where we continue to win. We want to compete for some national championships, some Big Ten championships. And I really believe we can do that here. And so it's really cool to see just a coach within our conference doing great things. And yeah, coaching, playing against her when I was on the field, you're kind of in awe of some of the coaches. At the time, I didn't know I wanted to coach, but it's really awesome to see these women be so successful in our sport. And now as a coach, same thing like Coach mentioned, coaching against a field from her, it's like, wait a second, she's kind of like my peer now. Like, that's pretty cool. Just all the things that she's done within the game and elevating women's sports. And I believe she's not done with that yet, with the role she's still going to be in now at Michigan. She's still impacting the game, and we can continue to learn from her.
Yeah, I mean, that coaching tree in the Big Ten, like some new faces. Coach Stan, obviously Jackie Joseph retiring at Michigan State. Coach, what's that like? You see new faces now in the league.
Yeah, I tell you, we just had our Big Ten meetings, and we do miss Jackie's voice. Jackie has a way with words, and she knows how to read the room and how to move things forward and push the needle. And so thankful for just her contributions to the sport. I tell you, the Big Ten has just had some incredible people that have continued through the years to equip and empower so many different people. And so when you're talking in terms of influence, the Big Ten Conference as a whole is, one of the oldest and most storied and reputable conferences in the land. And I'm proud to coach in the Big Ten. I'm proud to coach at Indiana. And it's because I've had the opportunity to meet women like, Jackie and Hutch. And now, too, our conference continues. Anytime you bring in, new people, continues to change the shape, just like a team. We're team 50. We'll never have team 49 again. Next year it'll be team 51. And so every team is unique. Every organization is unique, and we're going to continue to grow within the Big Ten and build on the momentum from last year, 7 teams getting in. We want to continue to push that needle.
You had your own coaching news this offseason. It's weird. I'm happy to see both of you, but I'm also used to seeing the two of you with Coach Fern. It's a little strange. She's back home in California now coaching. But at the same time, Coach, you've got a familiar face back on your staff that you replaced her with. Just tell us about that process, because when I saw the name, I'm like, whoa, that's a turn back the clock from the Marshall days.
Yeah, we're very excited to add Erin. And if you talk to Kendall, you tell her, she reaches out quite a bit. We still have a great relationship, and your family forever. And she's got to quit sending me all these sunsets and these beautiful walks on the beach, because I'm getting pretty jealous of her. But I love the fact that she's a huge part of our life and a huge part of my family. And I'm just so grateful and thankful for the time that we spent together, 10 years, the three of us. and a lot of great memories, a lot of great moments that we've built momentum. And so, I appreciate her contributions, not only to Marshall in Indiana, but just to me personally. And we obviously, continue to wish her the best, and we're going to continue to grow. We still talk the game. We still talk, hey, have you seen this drill? Or, and we still share a lot of ideas, and that's the great thing about it. And then we've had Aaron Clopton. It was middle 2000s, like 2005, 2006, that we worked together at Marshall. And at that point in time, he was my pitching coach. And so now he's transitioned on the hitting side. And so he's going to be the hitting coach here at Indiana. And, I told him the other day, we've never had such a busy fall. I feel bad. I still haven't onboarded him. So thankfully, he's worked with me before, and he knows how to navigate the landscape, because our feet have been running, with all the recruiting weekends and just the 50-year celebration. It has been nonstop.
That's pretty wild. I do remember him from your staff at Marshall there. So how's that transition going as far as all of you working together, and as well as for the players getting to know him?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the great things is, anytime you take out a big piece, me and Chanda kind of working together for so long, you kind of forget what we were doing, right? Because I don't have to micromanage. When I first started, I felt bad for those first early coaches. I was micromanaging everything, but I got to that point in my career where, they're the experts, and allow them to do their job. And so when you take a big piece out, somebody's got to fill those shoes, or, replace those tasks and just those relationships and how things work. And I'm so thankful that we have Gabby Jenkins and Grayson Radcliffe around, because obviously Chanda, knows just how I operate and is going to keep us on, on mission. And then you've got Gabby and Grayson, who both played for us, and now they're both on staff. Gabby as our volunteer coach, and Grayson as a grad manager. And so that's kind of helped when they're in with Clopton and they're doing hitting, they know exactly what it looks like. And so even though I haven't maybe done the best job of onboarding Airden, he's had to, navigate it himself. They've done a great job of getting touches on him, and everybody's, kind of on the same page. And it's not that hard, right? You show up, you work hard, you're passionate about what you do, you love what you do, and you love the people that you're working with. This job, is a lot simpler than we make it sometimes.
Right.
But I'm very fortunate of that. And we're excited. Clopton's going to, bring, and those are two things he's going to do. He's going to work very hard. He's going to bring a lot of passion. And I think our players have done a really good job of being receptive to him.
Coach Bell, have you shown him around in the town? What's the go-to place?
I think it's a little different with him having a family here. He's running around grabbing kids from school and different sporting events. So, we're kind of living different lives in that style, but like Coach mentioned, it's been pretty busy. So I think maybe sometime soon things will settle down and we'll get to show him around town. But, I think he's getting around on his own pretty well.
Yeah, it's true. You got time. If you've had a busy fall, as you mentioned Coach Ratcliffe and then the staff and everything. How has the fall gone? Starting with you, Coach Bell. How would you rate this fall so far?
I think it's been a competitive fall. I think it's been really great to see, we brought in 6 freshmen this year, and they're competitors, and it's been fun. This fall was a little different. In our fall ball games, we actually took 3 of them and decided to do inter squad. That way we could just see what we have. When you play a game, only 9 or 10 people get to play, constantly moving things in and out of the lineup, trying to see what works. But what we really liked is putting our own team against each other. We had the younger kids versus the older kids. It worked out perfectly. And so we got to see a little bit of competition with some of that new blood coming in and producing. But it's been a fun fall to train. We've got some great athletes. Like I said, some great freshmen who've come in, and some upperclassmen, working really hard too. So it's been a lot of fun.
Does it help, Coach Stan, for Aaron too, that there's a lot of returners, especially on the offensive side? Some players like Bassett and Menick, and I mean, because you were young. I remember talking to all of you last year. You were young in a lot of key positions.
Yeah.
They've grown. Does that help too in this transition?
Oh yeah, if I'm a hitting coach and I'm walking in and a team that scores about 5.8 runs a game, you got to feel pretty good about that, right? And they're only continuing to grow and continue to get better, and so we're excited about what we have to work with here. And I think our challenge is going to be, how do you get all those sticks in the lineup, right? And so if you're hitting and you're performing, you're going to be on the field. And, at some point in time, we may sacrifice something defensively, or maybe late in game, we got to go strong defensively. But we got a lot of hitters we got to find a place for. And so we're excited about that competition. I think the key is going to be, can we manage the expectation and the desires, in terms of playing time? That way, when you go in, that you do perform, because I think if you start the pressure situation of, I get my pinch at bat, If I don't perform, I'm never going to see another at bat. We can't be in that mindset. We got to be, hey, it's my number's up. And so I'm going to go out there and contribute and perform at a really high level. And so if they can stay on page, with Clopton in the dugout and Chanda in the dugout, I think that's going to be super helpful.
Who are the leaders? Have the leaders been established either on as far as production, but just also as a vocal leader? Any that's established themselves?
Yeah, you know what? We're still working through that. I think as a group and a team, Cora Bassett is someone that we've talked to recently that we say, hey, this has got to be your team. You're one of the best performers in our program. She was super clutch, hitting 400, on the year at the top of the lineup, setting the tone constantly. And so you want your best players to be your best leaders. I'm really pleased. Anytime you mention people, you're going to leave people out. But I feel like Brooke Benson, she's been a starter for us at short, for the last 2 seasons. And she's doing some really nice things leading the infield. So really like what I'm seeing there. And Tatum Hayes, who's one of our seniors, really seeing her just on the organizational side of the program. But, we're at that point right now where we got these different brave groups and, different leaders within those groups. And we just want to see things right now, an inventory of what it looks like and where people are leading and how do we need to teach them to lead. So maybe it's different people in the weight room that are leading, maybe at study hall, it's different kids leading there. And so, everybody's leading, you're either leading in the right or the wrong direction. Everybody is of influence. And so, I think our job as coaches is to make sure we just really, kind of see naturally, kind of how things are shaping. And then we kind of, jump in and say, hey, this is where we need you to step up and lead the team.
Yeah, Bassett was incredible. 400, 13 homers, 34 RBIs, all region performer. I mean, what's the ceiling for her? It seems like a high ceiling there. Is it one of the more talented bats you've coached? You've coached a lot of great bats.
Yeah. Well, Clopton used the word the other day, high sky. I like that instead of ceiling. She's got a high sky. And I think early on last year, she, made the comment, gosh, I didn't know I had this in me, this much, power in me. And that's all it is. Everybody has greatness in them, right? And so our job as coaches is to just help them unleash it, tap in there and say, you know what, there's a thing, in terms of goals, but really, the door never shuts in terms of opportunity or greatness. And so when you walk through one door of greatness and all of a sudden you get double-digit home runs, it's like, what can I do next? And so it's just, finding your best and recreating your best. And so I'm excited to continue to see Cora recreate her best because she recreated that. And then some of that's natural, freshman year to sophomore year, right? Sophomore year to junior year, by the time a kid's a senior, which really for her on the clock, she is a senior. And so that maturity and that growth happens a little bit more naturally. And it's pretty cool to see. That's the best part of coaching.
Coach Bell, obviously you run the pitching staff. You got returners coming in, which is nice for a change. I feel like every time we've talked, we're talking about we got to replace this pitcher and this pitcher, but you've got returners coming back. How is the pitching looking? What's the outlook for them?
We're still pretty young in the circle as far as innings go. Like you mentioned, we're last year trying to find a spot for to replace Emily Gooden, and then we had our who we thought was going to be our ace pitcher as a senior. She went down with an injury right before season started. So our young kids got a lot of great experience last year. So it's just going to be. It's going to be fun to see how they build off of that, with Heather Johnson taking a lot of our innings as a freshman last year. It'll be interesting and exciting to see what her sophomore year has for her. But yeah, we've got a good group of pitchers, probably be pitching a little bit more by committee until we figure out who our ace is going to be, or if one emerges, but that's the exciting part. But it is, like Coach mentioned, it's comforting to know that you've got a team behind you that's going to score about 6 runs a game. And so our pitchers just got to do their job and keep us in the game. And we've got a great defense too. And so, yeah, we've got a great staff that we're building and probably be pitching by committee for a while.
Committee. And I remember last year we won 27 games, but there was other games that, could have gone a couple of plays here or there. You might have been one of those 7 teams in that tournament in the NCAA's, Coach. When you reflect back on last year, because you had youth, is that just part of the process, learning? Because you can only tell the, practice and all that, but the players have to go through this experience.
Yeah, if we would have only played 5 innings, I think we would have had another 10, 15 wins. But, I think that was part of the youthfulness and experience is a great teacher. And I think what we're trying to train them on is it's not just experience, it's evaluated experience. And then it's also somebody else's experience. When you're sitting in the dugout and your number's not called in the starting lineup, you watch all those at bats before. That's experience. Maybe you saw 12 at bats before you pinch hit. And so getting them to understand Experience is a great teacher. It can be somebody else's experience that you're learning from. You got to be able to evaluate it and get better. And so there were times with our youthfulness, we would have a lead late that we lost. And so, I think as our pitching staff is evolving, and we're getting better there. For us, it really, our pitching staff pitched well enough last year. We scored enough runs. Our defense was awful at times. And so that was our Achilles heel. And this year, we feel pretty confident right now in our training. Our defense is looking pretty sharp. There is competition out there. And I think if we can shore up our defense, and when people give us outs, if we take them, that's your greatest commodity there. If we're taking care of the ball, I think you'll see some really great things from the Hoosiers.
Is that where the lack of experience shows up the most?
Yeah.
Is defense? Oh, we always focus on offense and pitching, but I've seen that defense seems to be where the youth kind of shows itself. Where maybe sometimes they're trying to do too much on a defensive play, or just doesn't. Is that where you kind of got exposed the most?
And where that happens is, we did not have a strikeout in inning pitcher, so we were pitching to contact. And when you pitch to contact, the ball's in play a lot more, right? And so when the ball's in play a lot more, you're going to get a lot more action, and a lot more mistakes are going to happen. And so you can't give 4 outs an inning. And that's what we saw late, is we'd have a lead, things were cruising, maybe we get 2 outs and we weren't able to get that 3rd out. Just like on the flip side, we were scoring a ton with 2 outs. And so we saw that on both sides of the ball. And maybe you try and get the lead out instead of just taking the sure out. And so, we're a year older. And when you looked at last year's team, when Grayson Radcliffe got injured, at one point in time, we had 1 upperclassman on the field. So 1 senior on the field, and we had a senior in the DP spot. Everybody else, were freshmen and sophomores. And so I'm excited to see them all a year stronger out there, understanding the script, understanding what it looks like, what the game plan is. And, we're just excited to get out there and put them to the test.
Considering the adversity you had with Ratcliffe's injury, you mentioned the pitching injury before the last year. Obviously, you always expect more, but considering the youth, considering the adversity, do you feel like in a lot of ways, maybe you accomplished maybe more than you should have, considering all the things that kind of didn't go as planned with the injuries, etc.?
Yeah, I think this program is still on great footing. When you look at the win-loss column, yes, we want to win more ball games. When you look at where we sat in the Big Ten standings, unacceptable for our expectations and where we want to be. But you're a game or 2 away from really doing damage. And we saw, I could rattle off 7 games right now where we had that late lead and we kicked the ball around a little bit. And that was the difference in the ball game, because great teams then, now you're turning the lineup over, right? So you had them where you needed them. You turn the lineup over, and then that's kind of what hurt us. So we're pretty excited, of where we are right now. We're excited about the progress. We're excited to go into this holiday season where we have good, strong player development plans where they can go to work while they're home over the next month or so, from Thanksgiving through the Christmas season. And then it'll be fun to get them back here in January.
Obviously, one of the highlights we already know about your non-conference schedules. You're going to be part of the Clearwater tournament, the ESPN, that week 2. I've been there, cover that. That's big. How big is that to be part of that? You're going to be tested early this season with a great teams there, and that's just one weekend. I'm sure there's others highlighted there, but talk about being part of that tournament specifically.
Oh, what an incredible thing. When you look at our sport and just the growth and the impact, to be able to have the opportunity to go down and compete there in that environment, and for it to be such a top-notch run tournament with the television exposure, the social media exposure, you can't beat it. And then the caliber of competition, that's really what it's all about. And I think it was it Texas last year? I think they went 0-5 down there.
Yeah.
And then there they are in the national championship, right? And so, our expectation is that we want to get out of the gates early at the leadoff classic, the NFCA leadoff classic. So we'll be in Clearwater opening weekend. It'd be nice to just stay on it, and then that second weekend is going to be great. We've got 5 opponents. It's not been released yet, so I won't share, who we're playing yet. But 5 programs that are just so storied that, have that postseason tradition and deep postseason tradition. And so we will be tested early and often, and it's going to be fun.
Coach, I just figure you're coming to Florida to see up me. I'm going to be near it there. So I figured that was the reason. It wasn't the schedule, but I guess I was wrong.
That's just an added bonus, Eric.
But you all been to Florida before. How much is that like comfort to know it's not like it's a foreign situation. Like you've been played at that stadium before. Does that help too from that standpoint?
Yeah, I think it helps. Anytime you return somewhere you've played before, there's a level of comfort. One thing we like to do, one of Coach's favorite things is when we go to an opposing school is the practice the night before. So just a little bit of comfort that you can get from, knowing the field. We know that it's going to be warm down there, so we're excited about that, or at least hoping and praying that it's warm down there when we're there in February. But yeah, I'd say there's comfort there. We played a lot of Big Ten games in the 21 season down there as well. So yeah, it's good comfort.
Obviously, some Big Ten topics. 7 teams in the field last year, Coach. I know we've talked in the past about the Big Ten getting more respect. Do you feel that last year was a big step in that direction as far as respect from the league?
Yeah, the Big Ten's got great softball. Without a doubt. We know every weekend in Big Ten play is a challenge, regardless of who you're playing. And so, we were excited to see that. And we think that should be a standard and continue to get more teams in. But we've got incredible quality coaches, and we got tremendous student athletes, and we play high caliber softball. And so, we're excited to not only us take the field and represent Indiana, but I'm excited to see our counterparts in the Big Ten compete. You look last year, what Wisconsin did down at Clearwater. You can go and name the team last year early on. Gosh, there were so many big wins that the big team had. And I think that was key in the end, is some of those early matchups that you saw. I don't care, the program. You saw a lot of knocking people off. And that was great to see from the Big Ten.
What is the status of instant replay in the Big Ten? Obviously, it was used in the Big Ten tournament, and obviously it's now used in the NCAA tournament. What's the status, perhaps, of using that for conference games in the regular season? Where are we as far as the league is concerned on that?
Yep. Everybody right now is kind of looking at their infrastructure and seeing what they can do. Whatever you can do, you're going to do on your campus. But we do have some things in play where we want to have it by a certain deadline and on all institutions with a certain amount of cameras. We want to do it right. We want to make sure we're all using the consistent software platform. And so the Big Ten Conference and the coaches, we just met about it last month. We feel pretty good about the parameters that we're putting into play. And that'll be going to the joint session and the different people to vote on it. But we're pretty excited about the direction that we're heading. Obviously instant replay, whatever's facing our sport, we want to be doing it, whether it's the safety base, you name it. I think video replay is going to be huge for our sport.
I think it's huge, and hopefully everybody has it. It's kind of unique last year because some had it, some didn't have it, and I do think that's an advantage for people that had it because they're accustomed to it. Whereas maybe like some people in the Big Ten tournament, they were kind of learning on the fly, Coach Bell, right? That's kind of, so hopefully kind of everybody's on the same page one way or the other, but that's kind of where we're headed. And that was what the interesting transition to me is learning the replay system is going to be the challenge there.
Yeah, learning the rules and remembering what the rules are. We were refreshing ourselves before the Big Ten tournament last season, and I don't even think we ended up using it in our game at the tournament. So you've seen it on TV where it comes into play. So it's great to have that we have access to it, and hopefully, within the next couple of years, we do have it as a staple within our program and within our conference.
Yeah, and get on the same page because I spoke to Coach Trout when she got ejected in the Big Ten tournament. It was over a miscommunication. Like they thought she said one thing and nothing. So I hate to see that just because they're not all parties aren't used to using the replay system. I don't want you to get tossed, Coach Bell. I don't have to worry about Coach Stan. I know she's calm. She's always calm.
Yes, you got it. That's all I got to watch.
Oh, come
on. So last couple of things. I want to ask you, Coach Stan, first, because I know last time we had Coach Bell on, it was right when you were about to get inducted to your Kentucky Athletic Hall of Fame. Hadn't happened yet. You went. You actually ended up going.
Yeah, we had a good time. Yeah.
So I want to ask you, what was it like to see her get inducted to her alma mater's Hall of Fame?
Well, she's a pro, and gosh, now I've known her for 10 years, right? And so not only is it fun and coaching to watch your student athletes develop into, the people that they are. It's been fun to watch, Chanda grow into the woman that she is. And she, iron sharpens iron. She makes me better. But man, she looked gorgeous that night in her blue dress. She looks better in red, but she looked great in her blue dress. And, to see her up there in that setting with the caliber of athletes that were up there. And we had a good time. My husband went and Kendall went. We drove down there. We got all gussied up and we had a good time. And man, what a pro. Her speech was awesome. Her family was there. So her mom and her sisters. So to be able to sit around the table, we don't have enough clap moments is what we call them, where you just celebrate people. And so for us to have the opportunity, as much as Chanda has done, for me and my program and my family, it was great to be able to just go down and celebrate her. And she's earned it and deserved it. And what a message. Look at one person and how they can change the trajectory of a program. You look at Kentucky pre-Chanda Bell, right? And then Chanda Bell and beyond, and what Rachel has done there, right? But Chanda was a big catalyst of that. And, obviously Rachel was able to mold her and grow her and develop her, as a pitcher into the competitor that she is. But, that's all it takes. And, so for us here at our program, we need that Chanda Bell, that's going to get us to that next level. And once you get there, it's, high sky, and you just keep going from up from there.
What was that night for you personally?
It was amazing. It was surreal. I think the cool thing about being around athletics is you get to go to a lot of Hall of Fames. I went to Rachel Folden's Hall of Fame, Amanda Williams, Jessica Williams, some great Hall of Fames that I had the pleasure of attending and just being a part of. And then to be the one receiving the award was kind of surreal. I didn't really feel like I fit up there. Like Coach mentioned, there were so many amazing other people that were up there. But it was an amazing night. I think Kentucky did a great job of honoring us and making us feel special, but just to feel the support for Shonda and Joe, her husband, coming, and then Kendall and my family. It was only a 3-hour drive from here, but I think if it had been out in California, they would have showed me that same support, which really says a whole lot about who they are and why I love coaching and doing life with Shonda and her family. But it was a great event. My coaches were there. I think it's really cool that the coaches I played for and even my former teammates in Molly and Brittany Cervantes are still there. So got to see some great people, got to attend a basketball game, football game. So it was a great event.
Nice. All right. Well, if Indiana and Kentucky play in basketball, it should be in your honor. I feel like
I think they are soon.
All right, good. So that you're gonna get. I'm gonna give you credit for it, whether it's accurate or not. I'm just gonna give you credit on the air for making it happen.
I don't think so, but.
All right, but you're going to have to now go to Coach Stan when she gets inducted to Marshall's Hall of Fame, which has to happen. It's going to happen.
100%. Yeah, she's already she's a Hall of Famer at her high school, and she's a Hall of Famer in my book, and she'll be in a couple more Hall of Fames before it's all said and done. I believe that. So
yeah, no, that's definitely going to happen. And then I do want to ask you, Coach Stan, because Scott Hall's no longer at Marshall. How strange is that? Like, he's the last one. Was that like
Mohicans, right?
Yeah.
Well, Todd Hicks is still there, so
that's true.
And what a nice job Megan has done with that program.
Yeah, she's done, but it's gonna be weird. Different voices there with no Scott.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we miss Scott.
Yeah.
What a good dude.
Yeah, unbelievable. Last thing, what's gonna be the keys as the season gets closer in February and you start? What's the keys for all you accomplish your internal goals?
EPS, and we call that expectational positioning system. We got a really competitive group, and we're going to be bouncing people in and out of the lineup. And so can you manage your expectations going into every single game and every single pitch? And if you can stay with the lion mentality and be all about the team, then I think we're going to see really great things from this group, because it is going to be, we got probably 2.5 kids that are penciled in for 60 games. Outside of that, I think we're going to be reading a different lineup pretty regularly. And I think that's going to be a good thing, because we want to go from strength to strength, not out of default, right? And so if we're going from strength to strength, and I look over at the bench and we're having conversations in between half innings and saying, hey, is what we're going to just as good or better, and we can pull the trigger, then we're going to be in great shape. So if we don't manage our expectations well, then it could be a long season. But if we do that and this group stays tight and for each other, you're going to see some really good things from the Hoosiers.
Well, I look forward to seeing your team play. It sounds like you got pretty good depth too. Probably the deepest team you've rostered since you've gotten there.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I remember, Coach Belly, that was what you were shooting for when you all got there in the first place, was just to build this up. And it seems like you're getting close to where you would like it to be.
Yeah, we've got some great depth. We're always having conversations, even within the fall ball games. We're like, what do we want to do? Who do we want to come off the bench? And like Coach mentioned, it's going strength to strength. And I think that we're seeing that with our pitching staff too. They're working hard, and it's been fun to see, even from, Macy Montgomery, who probably didn't get the innings that she wanted as a freshman and sophomore. She's working incredibly hard and seeing some big changes in the bullpen that I really think are going to help us in the circle a lot this year. So it's going to be fun to see who emerges. But yeah, there's a lot of competition at every position, and it's going to be fun.
That's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. Hoosier softball. Coach Stanton, Coach Bell in the circle. together. I like this. This could become a new trend
Good
here.
stuff, right?
I
Eric,
like this.
thanks for having
Yeah.
us on.
Hey,
You know, we
thanks,
appreciate
Coach.
what you do in our sport. Thanks for the
Yeah.
coverage.
Appreciate it.